Hey guys, it's Katie, and welcome back to That Time When, my podcast where I spill all of my stories and secrets to give you all the advice I wish I had that time when. So, last week I told you guys how I have moved back into my parents' house temporarily. So, I'm living back in the house I grew up in my hometown, and I was talking about how I've been driving around town and just kind of reminiscing on, old memories and stuff. And not gonna lie, it's made me remember a bunch of stuff that me and my friends did growing up here in high school and everything. And it has had me kind of, thinking back on that time a lot. And then I asked on my Instagram what you guys wanted to hear me talk about in an upcoming episode. And one of the responses was stories from high school. And I was honestly already thinking about doing this episode. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, we're going to talk about high school. So I'm not sure. I don't remember last week how much detail I gave you about where I grew up. So I guess I'll start there. The town I grew up in is in Massachusetts. It's about 30 minutes outside of Boston. It's not a huge town. There's 13,000 people, so it's pretty small. My high school was around 1,000 kids, probably a little less. My graduating class was 220 or something like that, so it wasn't very big. It's a very sheltered place. I feel like a lot of people say that about their hometowns, how it's kind of like a bubble. That was definitely the case here. We all grew up pretty sheltered, safe. Nothing crazy ever happened here for the most part. So yeah, that's kind of setting the stage for you for the things that happened for me in high school, because we got away with a lot of stuff in high school. And I think that just kind of explains to you the kind of place we grew up in. Because we did some really stupid shit in high school, and I don't know how we never got in trouble for any of it. So anyways, I'm gonna go through year by year, I think, and kind of give you guys a little synopsis of things. My senior year is what I'm mostly going to talk about, because that was when I know funnest isn't a word, that was when the best stuff happened. So we're going to breeze through the first 3 years of high school, maybe tell a couple stories, and then we'll get to the good stories from senior year. So, freshman year. When I was a freshman, my older sister was a senior. So the first day of high school, my high school campus was a bunch of different buildings. We had the cafeteria that we called the Commons. That was where everything happened. That was where you hung out all the time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case every high school, but whatever. We called it the Commons, not the cafeteria. And then there was the administration building. I can't talk today. And which had the library in it and stuff. There was the language building, the arts building, the science building, the history building, the math and English building. So there was just a bunch of different buildings. And then there was this field house in the back. And that was where sports happened. There was the basketball courts in there. There was an indoor track, the locker rooms. You had gym class in there, stuff like that. So, first day of high school, I walked into the Commons, and there was a little, not a foyer, but a breezeway, I guess you would call it. There was one set of doors and a little spot, and then the actual doors. And all of the senior boys were lined up there. Just kind of giving the freshmen a hard time. It was something you would see in a stupid movie. So when I walked into the building, some of the senior boys picked me up off the ground. They were my sister's friends, so they knew who I was because, related to their friend, whatever. So they picked me up off the ground, and my sister starts screaming at them to put me down, don't touch her, etc., etc. So I was like, oh shit, this is how high school's gonna go. And I remember thinking that these guys were massive. They were so big. They were grown ass men. And I look at high school seniors now, and I'm they look so small and so young. And even when I look at pictures, I'm the guys that were seniors when I was in high school, they just looked way older than kids do now. I don't know if it's something in the water. I don't know what happened, but I really think back in the day, they just looked older. I don't know. Maybe that was just because I was young. But really, looking at pictures, I really think kids nowadays just look younger and smaller than they did back then. Because I was in high school. When did I start high school? My freshman year was fall of 2007. Holy shit. So this was a long time ago. 2007 was a very, very long time ago. Oh my God, I'm aging myself. I know I'm not old. I'm only 27. I know it's not old, but god damn, that was a long time ago. Okay, so anyways, that was my freshman first day, my very first introduction to high school. Freshman year was not really crazy. I didn't really do anything. I started cheerleading my freshman year. I had never cheered before, but my sister was on the varsity team, and I had always wanted to try it. So freshman year, I joined the JV basketball cheerleading squad, which they had never had one before, but there were a lot of girls who wanted to cheer, who either didn't go to tryouts or like didn't make the team or whatever. So they let us have this JV basketball squad, and we had the ugliest fucking uniforms you've ever seen in your life. It was literally a bright orange. Our high school colors were orange and black. It was a bright orange long sleeve turtleneck bodysuit, like with the one that snaps in your crotch, like the old school cheerleading bodysuits, if you know what I'm talking about. Heinous. My mom found it recently. I was like, throw that in the trash. I should have kept it for memory's sake, but like, I have too much shit already. I can't keep that stuff. So it was like this bright orange long sleeve turtleneck bodysuit, and then these black and white uniforms that were like the most basic ones you could order from the varsity catalog. And it was just screen printed with like WHS on it in orange. And it was so, so ugly. I have some pictures lying around somewhere, and I look at them and I'm just like, oh my God, what the hell were we thinking? We didn't pick the uniforms out, so like it wasn't up to us, but they were so heinous and so ugly. But that was when I started cheering. So that was basically my freshman year. Nothing super crazy. Sophomore year was when I met my first boyfriend, which if you've heard episode 2, you know exactly who I'm talking about. That one, yeah. But like things were good at this point, so like it was fun. So I don't really have anything bad to say about him in high school. Like we had a lot of fun together in high school. It was a really good time. So yeah, I met him pretty early on in my sophomore year, like October of my sophomore year. It was super fun. That was like the biggest thing that happened to me sophomore year. I had my first kiss sophomore year in my hot tub in my backyard. I drank for the first time my sophomore year of high school, actually. We had this group of friends. There was about 6 of us. We were all really close. We hung out together all the time. We did everything together. And we were drinking in one of the girls' basements. Now, we had all like brought alcohol, and I went downstairs to my parents' liquor cabinet to like get my alcohol to bring. And what I decided to take was the Gordon's dry gin and the Gordon's vodka, which is like shitty and disgusting. So gross. I literally dumped out 2 Poland Springs water bottles and like poured some in each and brought that. And I drank orange juice and vodka that night. I tried the gin and hated it because I still don't even like gin. I think it's gross. But I drank orange juice and vodka that night, and we got really, really drunk. And we were just being like sloppy. We had like spilled some of the vodka on like the floor and stuff like that. So like when you walked downstairs, you could smell alcohol. It smelled like vodka. And her mom came downstairs at one point, and she knew we were all drinking, and she was pissed. Like rightfully so. You have a bunch of like 15-year-olds drunk in your basement. So she called my friend upstairs and then came down and like yelled at all of us and called all of our parents to come get us. And my mom came to pick up me, my boyfriend, and one of our friends. And oh my gosh, she didn't even care. Like literally, she did not care. I shouldn't say that. I know my mom listens to this podcast, but she didn't, it's not that she didn't care. Like she did, but she was just kind of like, you know what? Like I was doing the same thing at your age, so it's okay. And from that point forward, I was like, oh shit, like I might be able to get away with this from now on. But I always told my mom everything anyways. Like I wouldn't have like hid it from her probably. So I wasn't really nervous about her finding out. I was nervous about my dad finding out because he would have been pissed. But I wasn't scared about my mom finding out, and she didn't even make it a big deal anyways. And my mom actually kind of became our DD for the rest of high school. Like anytime we would drink, I would call my mom for a ride, and it was no big deal. So that was that. But I also never drank like irresponsibly in high school. I never got hammered and like, you know, blacked out or anything like that in high school. Like I always drank responsibly because I knew I would have to see my mom at the end of the night because she was coming to get me. So I was always like, you know, pretty careful. But yeah, that was kind of my sophomore year. Junior year, was, I don't know, junior year like was nothing crazy. Junior year was the first school year that I had my license. So I could come in late in the morning if I had free periods. We had free blocks. As freshmen, you would have study periods, but then as you got older, it turned into free periods, and you would like, you could hang out in the commons. Like that's what sophomores usually did. You would just hang out in the commons. But as juniors, if you had a free period at the beginning or end of the day, you could like come in late or leave early. Seniors who had free periods in the middle of the day could like leave and come back. So that was kind of how that worked. But yeah, junior year I had my license finally. So I was like driving myself to school every day. I felt really cool. That was when we started really partying. My high school boyfriend, his parents would let us drink in their basement all the time. And so we had this big group of friends and we would all drink there all the time. And that was just kind of what we did on the weekends. Like Fridays, Saturdays, we would just go get drunk in his basement. And the parties were honestly very fun. Like I have really good memories from that. It was really good times. There were a couple of girls that I would always like bring with me. We would take shots of raspberry Burnett's, which is like so disgusting thinking back on it. I had this little shot glass I bought at Spencer's in the mall one day. It was like a pink zebra shot glass. So I would take my little shots of Burnett's out of that. I would drink Mike's Hard Lemonades, the raspberry ones usually, because my boyfriend's brother would buy them for us. And that was kind of all we did junior year. Like junior year was just a lot of like hanging out with our friends. Everyone was starting to drive, just like drinking, partying, doing like very typical high school things. We would go to hockey games a lot. Hockey was big with my friend group. So yeah, we would go to hockey games a lot. I would drive all the time because I was one of the first ones to get my driver's license. So I don't know what the rule is in other states, but in Massachusetts, you can't drive other people until you've had your license for 6 months. So I was like the first one who was able to actually drive people. So I would drive everyone to the hockey games. We would tailgate hockey games, which is so weird to think about now. But we didn't have a hockey rink like in our town. The rink that was my high school home rink was like 30-ish minutes away. So we would have to drive there. And like they would have Saturday games sometimes, which was very weird. So like we had a breakfast tailgate once or twice. Like we brought a grill and we like grilled and did Jello shots in the parking lot for these hockey games. So like I don't know what we were thinking, but it was honestly so fun. We would have tailgates like for nighttime games. Like their games were usually pretty late at night, and we would go like an hour or two early and drink in the parking lot in our cars before the game. And I don't know how we never got in trouble for tailgating hockey games. Like we were underage drinking in the parking lot at like a public rink. I don't know how we never got in trouble, but like the parents of the hockey players, the guys who were on the team were like a lot of our friends, like in our friend group. So we knew all their parents and they always thought it was hysterical. So that was actually a really fun time. We did that a lot junior year. That was good. But senior year was where all my best stories are. And I have a few written down here that I'll tell you guys. So I guess senior year, senior fall was just like a lot of partying, drinking, stuff like that. I remember we had a Halloween party, like a senior Halloween party. And we had a cheerleading competition the next day. So I did not drink my senior Halloween of high school, which was supposed to be one of the best nights of my senior year. I did not drink because we had a competition the next day. But a lot of the other girls on the team did drink. And we bombed at the competition. Like we did awfully. We had so many deductions. All of our stunts felt like we sucked. And I was so bullshit afterwards. I was standing there with this like pissed off look on my face. I was so mad at everyone because I was like, I didn't drink it all and you guys did and you fucked it up. Like I was so pissed. And looking back now, it's pretty funny and like I wouldn't care now, but I wish I had just drank that night. Like I wish I had just like enjoyed my night because it clearly wouldn't have made a difference. So whatever. What else happened senior year? Oh, okay. So my high school, we used to have this thing called senior show. So senior show was basically a variety show that the seniors would put on, and it had been a tradition at my high school for years and years. My high school had like a lot of townies, or my town did, I guess, does probably still. Like a lot of kids I went to high school with, their parents went to that high school, like maybe their grandparents. So it was a long-standing tradition, and people took it very seriously. So senior show was basically a variety show. It was 3 nights, and you would do all these different skits and performances and stuff. And like at the time, the whole premise of senior show was to make fun of the underclassmen. So like my sister's senior year, they made fun of this one girl a ton, and it was hysterical. I'm not gonna like give any details because it would totally give away who I'm talking about, which I don't want to do. But basically, it was just like all these skits to make fun of underclassmen. They cracked down on it a little bit my senior year. We had to be a little bit more sneaky about making fun of these people, which like now looking back on it, like it was a little fucked up and like that would not fly nowadays. But at the time that was just like tradition. It's just what you did. And it was always hysterical. Like the senior show was always very, very funny and people usually didn't take it that seriously. But yeah, so that was senior show. So my senior show, we Honestly, it was the best time. It would be, what was it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday would be the shows. And afterwards, the whole grade would have a huge party. Like someone would offer up their house and the whole grade would party there. So that obviously can get very reckless. The principal tried to ban the senior show parties. And he like would threaten, he found out whose parents were going to host the party and he had like threatened them and like threatened to have the cops go shut the party down and get the parents in trouble and like all kinds of stuff. And we like rioted in, there was this area outside of the commons, which was the cafeteria, and it was like an open little courtyard, and we like rioted, and the principal finally was like, okay, you can have your parties. So we had our senior show parties. The first night, oh, whose house was the first night? I can't remember which one was the first night, but the first couple of nights were wild, to say the least. These parties were like, you had a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds absolutely trashed, like all in the same house. And it just got reckless. Like, not gonna lie, people were like having sex in bathrooms, having sex in the middle of the party, like puking. Like, it was wild. Like, guys, these parties were like something you would see in like a movie or something. Like, it got really wild and crazy, but it was so fun. I shouldn't say it was fun because like I realize how ridiculous it sounds, but honestly, it was so much fun. People were getting absolutely insane. It was the best time. Like, I loved it. We had so much fun at those parties. But the third night, the final senior show party, so I hadn't drank before the party, but like I had my alcohol with me to drink at the party. So I was getting out of the car. All of us had driven over there together. My friend's mom drove us all in like their big Chevy, like Suburban or whatever. And I was getting out of the car, and one of my friends, he was coming from the back seat to get out, and he got stuck and like fell out of the car, and his head smashed into mine, and I got a concussion. And that whole party, I just was like, as soon as we walked in, I was like, something's not right. Like, I knew I had a concussion because I had a bunch from cheerleading already, so I just knew I had a concussion. So I was like so out of it, and I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, I need to go sit down. Like, I need to sit down. So they got me some ice and like put me on a couch in this room in this kid's basement. And there was another girl in there because she had been dancing on a glass table and it broke, and she like broke her toe or something really, really bad. So she was down there too. And then someone else came down. There was a mom in there. I'm all over the place, sorry. So it was me and this girl down there, and there was a mom in there who was helping to chaperone the party, and she was taking care of the girl who had like broken her foot basically. And someone else came in, I don't remember who, but someone came in and asked what was wrong with me, and this mom looks at this girl and goes, she's just really drunk. And I was like, I literally haven't had anything to drink and I have a concussion. And I was so pissed off. I was like, how dare you, especially because of who this person is, but I'm not gonna like say that. But yeah, so that was my last senior show party. I got a concussion because my friend smashed his face into mine. So that kind of sucked. But the senior show parties were just wild and crazy and so much fun. And like those were just some of the best nights of high school, to be perfectly honest. But what else can I tell you guys about senior year? Ooh, senior prank. Okay. Our senior prank sucked. It was so stupid. The first senior prank, there was like a group of kids in my grade, and a lot of them were bound for like Ivy League schools. Like they were like the really, really smart kids. And they decided to do a senior prank where they were going to go and plastic wrap between all of like the poles and like the buildings and stuff. Because like I said, my high school campus was outdoors. So like you had to walk between buildings. So they took a shit ton of plastic wrap and were just like plastic wrapping between these things. So you couldn't like get anywhere. And the cops came, I'm pretty sure, and caught them doing this and threatened to like tell the administration and basically like get their college acceptances rescinded, and like threatened them with all kinds of shit that like I don't know if they could actually do or not, and told them they had to take it down or else they were gonna like get them in trouble. So they had to take it down. So that was the first attempt at a senior prank. But then our actual senior prank that like the whole grade participated in, we all planned to bring our pets to school. And like we had thought about it, and we had tried to be like smart and like checked if like people had allergies and stuff. So we all showed up with our pets. I brought my dog Cody. It was really fun. And after 2 periods, they told us all we had to go home and like bring our pets home. So all the animals had to leave. But it was fun for like a hot minute. And there was no like animal fights. We told everyone like if your pet's not good with other pets, like don't bring them. Like we did think about it. We tried to be like thoughtful about this prank, but it didn't last long. They told us we we all had to go home. So that was that. It was like such a shitty senior prank. One of the other senior classes filled the courtyard outside of the commons with sand and like set up a whole beach in this courtyard. And that was a good one. Like that one was actually funny. And they all just hung out there all day. So good on them. They had a way better prank than we did. I don't remember what the other pranks were though when I was in high school. That was the only one I can remember. I think I was a sophomore when that happened. But anyways, what else can I tell you? Senior skip day. That was another good one. So senior skip day at my high school, I'm sure as like a lot of high schools, we would just like all skip that day and go to a beach. But my senior skip day, even though it was like May, it was freezing cold and kind of rainy, but we still went to the beach. So where we live, if you want to get to a nice beach, it's like at least an hour drive. So we drove an hour all the way up to the North Shore to go to this beach. We all like packed into a bunch of cars and we went and we literally picked up kegs and beer balls. I don't think you can get beer balls in Massachusetts anymore. It's basically this giant ball, like a plastic ball filled with beer, and it has like a tap on it like a regular keg. So we had kegs and beer balls and we like buried them in the sand so that they wouldn't be overtly out there because obviously we were 18. So we all go up to this beach. We're having, our senior skip day. We're having a good time. It's super fun. We're all just drinking in the rain. Like, it was honestly really fun. But some people got really, really wasted, including the person who drove us up there, who was supposed to drive us home. He got too drunk to drive us home. So one of our other friends, who also had been drinking and shouldn't have been driving, was like, I'll drive. And this kid was an awful driver. The drive home was so scary. I was like terrified that we were going to crash and die. We had so many close encounters. And then on top of that, my boyfriend and I and one of the girls that we were friends with were all in the very back seat of this Suburban. And she was in the middle and he and I were on either side of her. She had gotten pretty drunk that day and had eaten a bunch of hot dogs. And she got a little car sick from this kid's awful driving and literally threw up all over me in the back seat of the car. So I was horrified. I was so upset. So I made the kid driving get off the highway and we pulled into like a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. And I changed clothes. I was so pissed. I went in the bathroom. I was like really, really upset. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I told her the town we were in, which is like at least 45 minutes away. I was like, Mom, you have to come and pick us up. And it was rush hour. And like getting up there during rush hour is such a pain in the ass. And my mom was so pissed, but she came and got us. And like, thank God, because I was so scared that we were not going to make it home because of the way that kid was driving. And I had puke all over me. So senior skip day was fun until that happened. But anyways, that was senior skip day. The best part of senior night, or not senior night, but I mean, that is what we're going to get to in a second. The best part of senior year was this thing we called Hill Night. So, like I said, my high school, we had a lot of traditions. They had just been traditions for years and years. It was just like expected that every senior class did these things. But Hill Night was this thing where the senior class, the night before their final day of classes, because they ended class before the rest of the high school did, would go over to this hill that was behind our high school. And they would basically just drink on the hill all night. They would spend the night out there. And then in the morning when the first bell rang, they would run down the hill and run through all the buildings, like bang on the windows and all that stuff. So that was Hill Night. It had been going on for years and years. It was like the cops just kind of let it happen. The administration just let it happen. But my freshman year, which was my sister's senior year, was her Hill Night was the first time that Hill Night changed. So there was a new principal that year, and he was like, there's no way in hell that is happening, which like from an outsider coming in, hearing about this tradition, I can understand why he was like, what the fuck? Why have you all been letting these kids do this for years? But he put an axe on Hill Night. He was like, there's no way in hell that's happening. So my sister's grade started a new Hill Night tradition. And that tradition was that you basically, as a class, found somewhere in the woods to go drink in town and kind of just waited for the cops to figure out where you were all at, and then you try to outrun them and not get caught. So that was Hill Night. So that had been going on for a few years by the time my senior year rolled around. So our Hill Night, we all were like so pumped getting ready for it. So it comes around and we pick our spot. Like it was a big deal trying to like pick the spot that we were going to go to. So we picked this spot. It was like there was a river that ran behind the fields behind our high school, and it was on the other side of that, and you had to walk through a bunch of fields to get to it. So that's where we were going to go. So everyone had their backpacks. We were all dressed in black. We had our alcohol loaded up into the backpacks, all that shit. So we all trek out to this place. Everyone agrees to go at a certain time. Once it's finally dark, we all trek out there. And we're hanging out, we're drinking, we're having so much fun. It was a really good time. And one of my friends, he brought a police scanner, and he was like, when I hear that the cops are coming, I'm going to yell cops one time and everyone runs. And we're like, all right, sounds good. So we're all hanging out, doing whatever. I'm pretty sure I got stuck in a tree at one point. I decided to climb a tree, and I had to have some of the boys get me down because we were just being stupid, but it was fun. And then my friend, he hears on the police scanner that the cops are coming, so he yells cops, and all of us just take off running. And people kind of split up. It started off as a couple of big groups of people running. We all went in one certain direction, then people started splintering off. So I remember it was me and my boyfriend and a bunch of other people in a backyard. We had run through this field and got into some houses, and we were just in a backyard. And we were all sitting there in the dark, trying to be quiet, just waiting. And we all decided we had to keep moving. So we moved to another backyard. And then finally I say to my boyfriend, I was like, we're never going to get a ride out of here. We're never going to figure out where we're at if we stay with all them. We've got to split up. So I was like, we need to go. So I convinced him that the two of us need to start going on our own and ditch these people. And so we start walking by ourselves, and we are on this street that I didn't know where the heck we were, but in the daylight, I probably would have known where we were. And now obviously I know what road we ended up on, but at the time I was like, where the fuck are we? So we're on this road, and we're laying in the grass. There was this tall kind of grass on the side of the road, and we were just laying there. And I didn't see any cops. The street was pitch black and quiet, so I thought we were fine. And then I said to him, I was like, all right, we've got to keep moving. We've got to figure out where we're at so we can call for a ride. So we stand up and we start walking from the grass we were laying in towards the road. And maybe 20 feet in front of us down the road, all of a sudden someone starts flashing their flashlight at us. I thought it was another kid. I thought it was one of our friends or something. So I didn't think anything of it because they were in all black, but spoiler alert, cop uniforms are all black. So this guy starts flashing his flashlight at us, and he's like, why don't you two go join the party? And it was I don't know if it was the police chief. I don't think it was the chief, but it was one of the higher up people in the police department. I was like, shit. So he's like, I'm so scared at this point. I'm terrified. I was like, oh my God, my dad's going to kill me, freaking out. And we're walking behind him towards where they had all the other kids they had caught, rounded up outside of their cruisers. And I was like, we've got to run. I'm going to do it. I'm going to run. And he was like, do not fucking run. You're going to get in way more trouble if you run. And my boyfriend also had this backpack full of alcohol with him that he kind of tossed in the woods before they could search it or saw that he had it. So luckily he didn't get caught with any alcohol on him, because then we actually might have gotten in trouble. But basically what I've kind of learned about Hill Night is it's a small town. Nothing really goes on here. There's no major stuff happening in my town. So basically for them, it was more just a game of cat and mouse. It was fun for the cops, I think, to catch as many kids as they could and see how many of us they could find. So basically they rounded us all up, and they were like, all right, everyone call for a ride. They took all our names and stuff. And then they're like, all right, call for a ride. Just go home, please. So they sent us all home. That was that. And then we went back to my boyfriend's house, and we all started drinking because we got caught. We were one of the only people in our friend group that actually got caught by the cops that night. The rest of my friends managed to not get caught. But because they didn't get caught, they were hiding in the woods much longer than we were. So we got home and kept drinking pretty early because they found us. But my other friends didn't get back for a while because they were just hiding and waiting it out for the cops to go away. And a couple people were hiding in the river that the field we were at was next to. And some people got leeches, I'm pretty sure, which is just disgusting. I didn't get any leeches. Nothing happened to me because I got caught. So getting caught was actually the move because you just got to go home. And you didn't have to sit outside in the woods all night. But that was that. So that was Hill Night. Hill Night was a lot of fun. And then the next day, so we drank all night. We all stayed, I'm pretty sure, at my boyfriend's house and drank all night. And then the next day we went to school, and we had all been keeping a tally of how many drinks we'd had with Sharpie on our arms. So we get to school and we're showing the teachers like, look how many we've had. And then we would go home during our free periods. We would walk back to my boyfriend's house because he lived very close to our high school. And we would drink more and come back and be like, count them again. And like the teachers didn't give a shit. I don't know how we did not get in trouble that day. I mean, it was our last day of senior year, so I don't think they were going to do anything. But that's the kind of shit like we got away with that I do not think kids nowadays would get away with. But again, this was like 10 years ago. So things were a little bit more lax, maybe. At least here they were. So that was that. What else can I tell you guys about senior year? I don't know. That was like the good story. Like Hill Night was probably the best time. That was a lot of fun. I used to sneak off campus before I was a senior. My mom, some of her friends would like volunteer in the cafeteria as lunch ladies. So my mom would do that sometimes. And when she would do that was before I was a senior. So like seniors, like I said, you could leave if you had free periods, but juniors, you could only do that if it was at the beginning or the end of the day. You couldn't leave, like if your free period was during lunch, you couldn't leave for lunch. But my mom would be working in the cafeteria, so I would go get her car keys from her and I would take her car to leave. But we had this woman who monitored the parking lot to make sure that like juniors and sophomores and stuff weren't leaving when they weren't supposed to. So this woman eventually caught on that it wasn't my mom leaving, because my mom obviously parked in like a staff spot. So it wasn't suspicious if you saw that car pulling out, because my car was parked in the junior lot, and juniors obviously weren't supposed to leave. So if they saw a car leaving from the junior lot, they would know, and they would take your license plate, and you would get demerits, which if you got so many demerits, you get Saturday school. That was how my school worked. You didn't get detention. You would just rack them up until you had enough for a Saturday school. But yeah, so I would take my mom's car and leave, and I would like go get pizza or like go to Chipotle. And eventually the parking monitor lady caught on, and she told my mom that she had to stop giving me her keys to leave. But one time I did do that and went and got pizza with my friend during class. Like I skipped a class to go get pizza. And a couple of days later, I was in homeroom, and homeroom was when like the vice principal would come around and tell you what demerits you had. So he comes up to me while I'm sitting in homeroom. He tells me I got some demerits for skipping French class. I was like, oh no, like I just really wasn't feeling well and my mom wasn't picking up the phone to sign me out, so I just decided to go home. And he was like, okay, like that's fine. If she emails me and tells me that's the case, then I'll wipe the demerits from your record. And I was like, okay, like perfect, I'll have her email you. Now, I knew my mom's email password, so I hacked into my mom's email and wrote this email to the vice principal, you know, telling him, oh yeah, Katie was sick and I wasn't able to sign her out. That's why she missed class. So then, like, I don't know how much longer later it was, maybe like a couple weeks or something. My mom was like, Katie, I found this email in my sent email to the vice principal that you skipped class. So my mom caught me. She wasn't mad. She didn't really care. And it was honestly the only time I ever skipped class in high school. It was the only time I ever got demerits in high school. I never got demerits for anything else, which, like, you could get demerits for some really stupid shit, like being late to class. Like, people got demerits for dumber things, but I never got demerits. I was a good kid. But yeah, that was one of my other stupid things from high school. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure I have better stories from high school too, like other ones, but I honestly can't remember. It was, like I said, it was so long ago. I'm old now. But yeah, high school was honestly a really good time. Like I said, I don't want to say like I peaked in high school, but I had a great time in high school. It was so much fun. I really do look back on those memories as like some of the best years of my life. Like it was just such a good time. We were just like happy, having fun, like carefree, didn't have anything to worry about. Like it was just a good time. So being back at home these past few weeks and just like, you know, driving around and thinking about like, oh, that's what we did there and like stuff like that. It was fun. It makes me miss it a little bit. Like, I don't know if I'm the only one who kind of gets so nostalgic that you're like, I just wish I could go back. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but like, that's kind of how I've been feeling lately. I'm like, oh, I just wish I could go back just for like a day, just flash back to high school and like have some of those fun times again where like I didn't have anything to worry about in the world. It was just so much fun. But anyways, those are some of my crazy stories from high school. I hope you guys enjoyed them, found them funny or something. There was really no point to this episode besides just telling some funny stories from my time in high school. And it's hitting me now that my 10-year high school reunion is next year. And I don't know how to feel about that. I feel like I'm old. But yeah, so anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please go follow me on Instagram at thattimewhenpod, and please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It would mean so much to me. But other than that, I guess I will talk to you guys next Monday.